So it may not be gender appropriate, but it is certainly warranted when I say, hail to the king, baby. Welcome to Real School, the Canadian film channel that wouldn't know what one night in Miami is like because it's January and it's minus 35 outside. I'm your host, Michael Wynne Johnson, and today I will be reviewing Regina King's directorial debut, One Night in Miami. If you're enjoying the video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Regina King, the woman so regal her parents literally named her Queen King, is having one hell of a year, while the rest of us are having one hell of a year. One Night in Miami is based off the stage play of the same name, One Night in Miami, and as you can guess, it takes place in Miami on one night, which just so happens to be the specific night where Cassius Clay becomes world heavyweight champion. And he happens to be celebrating with three casual acquaintances who go by the name of Cooke, Jim Brown, and Malcolm X, four of the most powerful men of that era. Powerful black men, successful men in their field, when black men weren't allowed to be successful or powerful. Considering the events of the past year, I can't think of a better time for this film to come out. Some might think it's too late, but I think it's extremely topical, and it really gives writer Kemp, who also wrote the stage play, a chance to bring these events to light and to bring the subtext of the film to a mass audience who I think is ready for it. Now, some may argue this story is more fiction than fact, but that's not what's important. These were important men. They broke down barriers, which were important to break down. They had ideas, which were important. So, when the history behind it has so much importance, you better get the play right, and you better get the film right. Now, I've never seen the stage play. I want to after this because Powers really got the film adaptation right, in my opinion. It is extremely important as a writer to take what's known as a television bottle episode and make it a film. 4 main characters, 1 main location, and that's pretty much it. It can feel trapped. So the adaptation isn't easy to do when you make it cinematic. I can only think of a handful of recent examples that were actually successful. Some adaptations, like Denzel Washington's recent adaptation of Fences, are very limited in terms of scope and setting, and so they have to rely on character-driven pieces in order to make the film successful. And if you don't do that successfully, you don't have a successful film. Because not every adaptation can be Glengarry Glen Ross or even One Night in Miami. Powers and King did just enough to make this cinematic. They added just enough scenes outside of the hotel room, just enough cinematic elements, just enough things that you wouldn't see on the stage to not only make it cinematic, but still focus on the character-driven pieces. It didn't distract from the writing of the original play, and yet it didn't seem like it should only be a play. So I want you to imagine how captivating the performances of the actors have to be, how captivating the writing, how strong the writing has to be in order to get you, as the audience, to not only be captivated by 4 people essentially in one room for 2 hours, but to actually feel like you're in the room with them. To put it in 2020 terms, it's as captivating as watching somebody get impeached over and over again. The Fantastic Four of Kingsley, ben-adir, Aldis, Hodge, Eli Goree, and Leslie Odom Jr. are cast perfectly. Now, some might think that representing these historical figures, they might go a little too far, a little too much into stage acting, but I think, once again, it's just enough. And that's Regina King as a director telling them it's just enough. I have a really tough time pinpointing one performance which was stronger than the others, and one performance that I'd like to talk about more because really they work as a unit. I think Powers did that specifically on purpose because they really represent different aspects of the African American struggle, and so that balance of those 4 characters is pivotal. Now again, granted that's coming from a white Canadian dude, but I think you know where I'm coming from. The 4 character dynamic is actually an archetype in itself, and trust me, you've seen it before. Think about the Ninja Turtles, how each one of them represent a different humor, a different aspect of humanity, and more importantly, everybody in the audience can relate to at least one of the characters up on the screen or the stage or fighting Shredder in a sewer. Okay, maybe I'm putting a little too much school into real school, but the fact is that's why groups like the Beatles or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Fantastic Four work, because there's always somebody within that group that the audience can relate to, as long as they're not directed by Josh Trank. But luckily it wasn't. It was directed by Regina King, and she knew exactly how to give these 4 humors their moment in the Miami sun. The shy pragmatism of Jim Brown, the impulsiveness of Cassius Clay, the ambition of Malcolm X, and the sensitivity of Cooke. Is this 100% accurate? Were the men actually like this? Who knows? But the fact is, again, it's not important because the cinematic dynamic is what's important with the movie. And it really came all together. Powers knew exactly how to write for these characters. King knew exactly what to do with them, and each actor knew what to do with their part. That's rare when those three powerhouses can come together and create a majestic film. Let's try to work in a King joke again. But the fact is, it may not be the most stylistic film, but it is definitely a strong story with some amazing performances, and that makes it and earn it. Poll question: what director impressed you with their directorial debut? As always, leave your answers in the comment section below. And until next time, school's out. Hey Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.